Hello. Today we will be discussing regarding Ode of Intimation of Immortality from Recollection of Early Childhood by William Wordsworth. So it's a very long poem, and even the title is long. However, the idea is very clear, and it is one of the late poems of Wordsworth. And there are a lot of images which are noteworthy and quite apt for the period. And if you understand the title, that itself give us an idea of what this particular poem is about. That is intimation of immortality from recollection of early childhood. So I mean, I'm not going to start with the title. As we proceed, like I'll come back to the title and explain it, because I mean, once it is better to go through the lines and understand the essence of the poem which Wordsworth is trying to deliver, and then we'll get the overarching idea, and that would be our discussion at the end. So before we start with the poem, we have to notice what Wordsworth has given that. At the beginning of the poem, Wordsworth has quoted three lines from his other work, that is, My Heart Leaps Up. So it's another poem of Wordsworth which has a bit of overlapping ideas. And, the lines are very interesting. So the first line is the child is father of the man. So I mean, it's a funny thing. Like, how can child be father of a man? But the meaning over here is child is greater to a man. So and how can we understand it? How can we try to make sense of it? uh, if you read the other poem, we'll get an idea that, a child has certain knowledge that an adult will not be able to have, or adult find it hard to understand. So, and so that is one of the prominent thought that Wordsworth is trying to convey even in this particular poem. So the title states that intimation of immortality from recollection of early childhood, right? So the sense of immortality can be achieved only in early childhood, and the recollection of it is only a way the poet is or speaker is trying to make peace with it. So child as father of the man. So let us try to learn why it is so. And I could wish my days to be bound each to each by natural piety. So piety is piousness. And, it's a synonym of piousness. So piousness is usually attached to saints or some religious figures. But the piousness he is talking about here is not anything to do with religion. The piousness here is attached with purity, the purity of thought. And according to the speaker, children have the purity of thought and emotions. So that is one of the primary ideas of this poem as well. That is why the three lines from My Heart Leaps Up has been utilized by Wordsworth. Let's get back to the main body of the poem, and we have long way to go anyway. There was time when meadow, grove, and stream, the earth and every common sight, to me did seem apparelled in celestial light. The glory and the freshness of a dream, it is not now as it has been of yore. So, there was a time when meadow, grove, stream, the earth, and every common sight. So he starts by saying there was a time. So the moment he says there was a time, that means it is not now, right? So once I had this particular feeling. right? What is that feeling? Whenever I look at a meadow, grove, or stream, or the earth, and every common sight. So the fun part is, the technique of poetry, how it works is, so because it is paired with there was a time, right? So every common sight, when he mentions, that means it's not a common sight anymore. Right. So, what is usually considered as a common sight is no longer common anymore. So, this is one of the prominent ideas of romantic period where there is a nostalgia for something which is lost. So, what is being lost? What is being lost in most poems is the beauty of nature, which is of course something to be something to reminisce. But here it is not just about, at least not just about the beauty of nature is talking about it. There is something else that is being lost, and even the terminology is common sight, vision. So there is a vision that is being lost. So what is that vision again? We can speculate. uh, but here it is, very the images which are presented in the first two lines are of nature, of course. Meadow, grove, stream, earth, and all these images of natural beauty, to me seem apparelled with celestial light. So these sites, these scenarios, for me it felt like they have been clothed in a celestial light. Celestial light, let us call it divinity. So there is an essence of divinity in these things. The meadow, grove, stream, or whatever. So basically natural beauty. So natural beauty is clothed in divinity. So that is what we can understand here. Um, the glory and the freshness of a dream. Okay? So this is the feeling he's talking about. So the glory and the freshness of a dream. So, we often use the term childlike wonder, right? So childlike wonder. So this is the what is this childlike wonder is all about, excuse me. So the childlike wonder is nothing but the glory and the freshness of the dream. It is not now as it has been of yore. So he's speaking about himself and he says it is not like how it was before. Right. So when I was a child, so now we know, if when he says that, now it has not been before, I mean, it is very simple. We can understand he's talking about, when he was a child, these things were, so amazing. These things were so wonderful. And, these things were as if, they were part of divinity. But it's not how it is. It has been a while, it has long before that was the case. Now it is not the case at all. Turn wheresoever I may, by night or day. The things which I have seen, I have seen, I now can see no more. The things which I used to see when I was a child, I'm not able to, see them anymore. So I mean, so there are two ways to understand it. One way to understand it is by, just saying that, okay, so the kind of natural beauty which used to exist doesn't exist anymore. So that is one way of talking and one way of understanding. But we know that's not true, right? And, so no matter what, there is natural beauty which is present. And, we are talking about, early 1800s and, maybe even before that. So obviously that is not the case. And later, in the poem we learn that that is of course not the case. Other way of looking at it, and this is where I lean to, and this is maybe the right way to look at it, is to say, you know the way I used to look at things, you know, I'm not able to look at, look at them anymore, right? In a sense, the kind of wonder I had when looking at the things, the kind of divinity I used to feel when I look at things, I don't feel like anymore. And this is the prominent idea that we will be discussing about. So the term which I recommend to describe what has been presented here is the term vision of a child. The way child looks at things, it's not just seeing. There is a vision, and vision of a child is the term which I think most suits for the idea presented here. Then the rainbow comes and goes, and lovely is the rose. The moon does with delight look around her when the heavens are bare. Water on a starry night are beautiful and fair. The sunshine is a glorious birth. But yet I know wherever I go that there has passed away a glory from the earth. Okay, so let's try to understand it bit by bit. The rainbow comes and goes, right? One side. Lovely is the rose, another side. Moon does with delight look around her when the heavens are bare. So, uh, so in a clear sky, how does the moon shine? So whether it is a rainbow, whether it's a rose, whether it is the moon, all these things, waters on the starry night are beautiful and fair. So all these sights are beautiful, and you are able to call it beautiful even at this period of time. Now he's an adult, and he's able to say that these things are beautiful. No doubt that is true, right? The sunshine is a glorious birth. So, I mean, so that is how you look at it. Like, sunshine is glorious birth, birth of the sun. So, I mean, sunrise is, of course, a brilliant sight, and, of course, an enchanting sight. So, but all these things, right? All these things. So they are still beautiful now, right? Even as an adult, you can enjoy all this. So then what is the problem? Let's see. But yet I know wherever I go that there has passed away a glory from the earth. So wherever I go, you know, I see that something is missing, right? So I see all these beautiful sights. These beautiful sights exist even now. But still I'm not able to I can call them beautiful, but still there is something missing. What is missing that we try to explore even more. Now, while the birds thus sing a joyous song, and while the young lambs bound as to the table's sound. So, so again, there is, first line is about the singing of the birds. So the birds sing joyous song. It's, of course, birds do not sing sad songs. Hang on with this because Shelley is going to contest this idea. So, but a general assumption is the birds sing happy song, and okay, it's a very interesting idea, but may not be true, but still something which is an interesting idea and can be enjoyed, right? So birds sing beauteous song and joyous song, and there are young lambs. So I don't know why he has used young lambs, because lambs mean young sheeps. So young lambs, okay. So bound as to the table sound. So there is a shepherd, and when shepherd beat his tabor. Tabor is a kind of a drum which can be held in hand. So When shepherd plays music from his drum, so the lambs always follow him, right? So that is, how, that is how, a shepherd trains sheep. So, so when he does it, like, the sheep follow him. So while these things are happening, and he continues, to me alone there came a thought of grief. When I look at the bird singing, when I hear the bird singing, when I look at these lambs following the Tabor, so I am filled with, not filled with, but I get a thought of, grief, sadness. So there are few lines of sadness which occurs to me, but not for long. A timely utterance gave that thought relief. The moment, you know, I express, you know, it went away. The moment I express, the grief went away. So, what kind of expression he doesn't particularly say, and what did he express, that is also not said. But what is said here is timely, So I thought of it, and it went off. Like, at that moment, at the right time, it happened. And that becomes important, and that is acceptable. And again, I am strong. you know so the moment I think of it, it went off, and again, now I am, fine, I am strong. The cataracts blow their trumpets from the steep. No more shall grief of mine the season wrong. So wrong, I wouldn't do any wrong to the season. So the season is season of joy, right? And I hope I will not do anything wrong. I will not do anything that is not joyous, is the concern. I hear the echoes through the mountains throng, and the winds come to me from the fields of sleep. So, it is as if, it's dreamy. I would say it's dreamy, looking at all these things happening around. There is a mountain, there is, lamps, and all that, and there are waterfalls. Cataracts is waterfalls, by the way. So when all these things are happening, like, it is almost dreamy. So it is as if, those things come from field of sleep, right? Field of sleep is, what emerged from field of sleep is dream. And all the earth is gay. So all the earth is happy, is, what he's thinking. So when he looks at these beauteous things, and he feels that everything is happy. Land and sea give themselves up to jollity, um, and with the heart of me does every beast keep holiday, thou child of joy. Okay? So it's, of course, the late spring season, and late spring season is supposed to be beautiful, is supposed to be joyous. But last line of the stanza is something which interests me very much. Shout round me, let me hear thy shouts, thou happy shepherd boy. He's looking at this shepherd boy, and he says, so your shout, you know, so, and that is delight. So, um, thou child of joy, the shepherd boy is the child of joy. So, it's a, firstly, the shepherd boy is young, you maybe a child even. And his focus is that, younger you are, more knowledgeable you are in some areas, more open you are to understand few things. So that we know. And so that is first thing, like, he's young. Second, he's rustic. He's a country boy, he's not a city boy, he's a country boy. It's a rustic image. So And somewhere he's trying to say that so in country there is the sense of aestheticity where you enjoy the nature rather than urban landscape. So that is quite clear. We can also remember the attempts of Wordsworth trying to capture the urban landscape in Westminster Bridge. But yeah, it is nowhere compared to the things which he is presenting here. So what the images which he is presenting here are much, much, much wonderful. You blessed creatures, I have heard the call. you know so I have heard the call of things. So blessed creatures, so I gave it a thought, who is he referring to? But based on the description given here, he's talking about every one of them, right? So the birds, the sheep, lambs, and the shepherd boy, all of these people, these blessed creatures, they're blessed with something. What are they blessed with? The ability to enjoy. I have heard the call. I hear all of your sounds. You to each other make. So, these sounds you make to each other, I see heavens laugh with you in your jubilee. So, in your enjoyment, I see heaven smiling. I see heavens laughing at you not in mocking sort of way, but taking part in the enjoyment, right? So heavens laugh with you in your jubilee. So heavens laugh, in your enjoyment. My heart is at your festival. My head has its coronal. So my head is adorned with these thoughts. My heart is filled with the festivities, the enjoyment, the fullness of your bliss, the completeness of your enjoyment, completeness of your joy is something which makes me makes my heart full. I feel it all. Feel all these enjoyment around me. But, oh evil day, if I were sullen while earth herself is adorning this sweet May morning and the children are culling. So he's cursing the day. Why he is cursing the day? He's not actually cursing the day here. He's cursing himself. If I were sullen, if I were sulking by myself, if I were, is if I am sad all by myself while earth herself is adorning, while earth herself is, filled with all this beauty, you know, this sweet May morning, and the childrens are culling on every side in thousand valleys far and wide. So for across, across the land, these children are, dancing. Children are, picking out flowers in this sweet May morning. And when children are picking out flowers, children are enjoying, how can I be, sullen? How can I be sulking? How can I be sad? So thousand valleys far and wide, again, exaggeration. So not, I mean, so it's not thousand valleys, of course, but, it means that, length and breadth, across wherever he can see, like, children are enjoying and, so things are the way he describes. So fresh flowers while the sun shine warm. So wait for it. There is something coming here. So fresh flowers while the sun shine warm, and the babe leaps up on his mother's arm. I hear, with joy I hear. So when looking at the natural beauty which is present, again there is one more beauty that is child leaping in in the child's mother's arm. So that is another. So wherever he see, he see enjoyment, he hear the joy, he sees the jolliness. But there's a tree, there is one tree of many one, right? Of all the trees which are there, there is one tree, a single field which I have looked upon. So this one tree is, what I hope, this one tree has something which is unusual. It stands out from everything else. And of course, this is a image which is presenting. Let me explain that image after this line. Both of them speak of something that is gone. So out of all these trees, there is one single tree which is different, which feels like, things a thing out of place. Thing which looks like, it doesn't fit in here. And thing which looks as if something is gone. What has gone? And who is it referring to? So tree is not just some tree he is talking to, tree is himself. Out of all the things which are enjoying in this particular surrounding, in this landscape, there is only one odd piece, that is himself. He is the person who is feeling that something is missing. He is the person who is feeling that something is gone. Right? The pansy at my feet does the same tale repeat. Even the flowers are telling me the same thing. Right? Whither is fled the visionary gleam? Where is it now, the glory and the dream? They're all asking one question to me, right? Where is the glory and where is the dream? Where is that vision you had? No matter what you look around you, you used to feel, divinity, where has it gone? So this is the question which is being posed here, right? So, and, of course, speaker says that, that is what I have lost. The vision of looking at things as glorious, looking at things as, something which is divine. You know, a birth is but a sleep and forgetting, infancy. The soul that rises with us is our life start. So when we are born, right, it is like sleeping and forgetting. So uh, our infancy is like that, so when we are before we took birth, we were asleep for several months, right? And now I mean, childhood is like forgetting, because if you try to recollect the early memories of childhood, you're not able to go very far, right? So your childhood memories are, they just vanish. So they are forgetting. The soul that rises with us, our life star, has had elsewhere in setting, right? So the soul which, you know, is with us, it belongs somewhere. Okay, so think of a traditional idea. Traditional idea is that, the soul comes from heaven and, it goes back to heaven, or any kind of variations of the similar ideas. So if, depending on what idea you prescribe, subscribe to, but, they all, at least most of them, speak of this idea that, the soul within us comes from somewhere and, it goes somewhere. So and he says that the soul has come from somewhere and it goes somewhere. It has elsewhere its setting and comes from afar. Comes from somewhere. Not in entire forgetfulness and not in utter nakedness. Okay, it comes from far places, and of course it comes from far places, and according to the speaker, not in entire forgetfulness, right? So the soul, when it comes and take its refuge in our body, it remembers few things. It doesn't forget everything. And another term and another line which becomes very important is not in utter nakedness, right? Not as if everything is blank. So of course there is a reason why this line has been included. So you there is I have made a video on so video on this actually. So during the period of enlightenment, enlightenment in romanticism, I have made a lecture, I have delivered a lecture. You can refer to it if you want more information. So Wordsworth wrote as response to enlightenment thinkers, and enlightenment thinkers believed that children are born as a blank slate. It's a it is popularly known as tabula rasa view, which is of course our psychology, developmental psychology, largely depend on this particular idea. So that is what enlightenment thinkers believe. On contrast to that, Wordsworth is saying the children are not in utter nakedness. Children are not, born with absolute empty minded. Children are not born with, empty brains. So they carry some memories from where they come from. And where they come from, let us say, either heaven or divinity. You can choose whatever the term you are comfortable with. So, both fits here, right? So, by trailing clouds of glory, do we come from God, who is our home? Heaven lies about us in our infancy. So, when we are infants, we remember things from heaven. We remember, the things being associated with God. Shades of the prison house begin to close upon the growing boy. So, more a child grow, more child becomes an adult. So, all this prison house being, begin to close. So, all these memories wash away, all these so the idea which is given is prison house. So a prison house, our body is a prison house where we get trapped in it, so we get trapped in it, and we lose all other memories. But he beholds the light, and whence it flows he sees it in his joy. But a child, though he might not remember everything, when a child experiences this joy, that divinity flows in the child. The youth who daily further from the east must travel still is nature's priest, right? So nature's speech, nature's religion, and we have a lot of references regarding worshipping nature, by Wordsworth. And he says that so when we are young, right, so this is what we do. We practically worship nature. The child, it enjoys the mud, it enjoys the dog, it enjoys the sheep, the company of dogs and sheep, and all this. So this is what youth here doesn't mean teen or anything after that, but youth here means childhood, youth here means infancy. And by the vision splendid is on his way attended, at length the man perceives it die away and fade into the light of common day. So as man starts perceiving things, man starts understanding things, man grow up, so this vision this child, vision of a child vanish. And with the, with the vanishing of vision of a child, everything else vanish as well and fade into the light of common day. Earth fills her lap with pleasures of her own, yearning she has in her own natural kind, and even with something of mother's mind, right? So, earth is filled with all the kinds of beauty and pleasures, and more human are attached to these pleasures, right? So, the vision of this beauty in nature, the vision of, the experience of divinity, experience of immortality, if you remember from the title, which we are going to explain much more in the later stanzas, vanish. No unworthy aim, the homely nurse does all she can to make foster child her inmate man. Forget the glories he has known, and that impartial palace whence he came. So, again, inmate man, imprison, the idea of imprison. I'm skipping few lines because there are too many things to speak of. So focusing majorly on important things. So inmate man, right? Inmate. Whom do we call inmates? So we call inmates for the people who are in prison, right? Jail. So so that image comes back here. We are imprisoned. What are we imprisoned to? Refer to other poems of Wordsworth, like earning and spending, we lay waste our past, and all that. So we forget the imperial palace where we come from. Imperial palace. Again, heaven. So whatever the idea of heaven you subscribe to. So here is where so many of the scholars are split. Including I have many counter opinions with a lot of other scholars. So some scholars are particularly, believing that the God which Wordsworth is referring to is a Christian God, and the term heaven, which is being used in this particular poem, is a Christian heaven. However, that doesn't seem to be true, because some of the things which are presented in this particular poem, but also in other poems, it clearly gives us an understanding that it is not, at least the not the traditional Christian ideas. So it can be anything, it can be any gods, but it need not be particularly about traditional Christian faith, because he clearly speaks about nature's priest, and of course in world is too much with us, he refers to the pagan gods and all that. So but G is capitalized, and of course, so there is another set of arguments which can be made here. And yes, so it's I mean, it's up to you to understand the way you want. You can put anything, here, and it would still make sense. And Wordsworth purposefully wrote in such a way that it would make sense the way you want to read it. Any kind of heaven you imagine, right? That would fit in. So, behold the child among his newborn blisses. 6 years, darling of pygmy size. See where amid work of his own hand he lies. So, a child, think of a 6-year-old child, and the line he uses, 6 years, darling to pygmy size. Pygmy size, a small size. Uh, and a child in during that period of time, what does it do? So he gives a set of description. See where amid work of his own hand he lies, fretted by sallies of his mother's kisses, with light upon him from his father's eyes. See at his feet some little plan or chart. Okay, of course, so a child looks at, other than the, other than the love it shares with the mother and father, but also there is kind of an imitation which is done here. So what is that imitation? Like, little plan or chart, some fragment from his dream of human life. So a child try to imagine what human life is, and it tries to imitate from his mother, father, and others, shaped by himself with newly learned art. So either he paints a painting picture, or or write something, scribble something. So a child, what are the things a child enacts or paints or writes about? A wedding or a festival, a mourning or a funeral. And this has now his heart, and unto this he frames his song. So children, if they attend a wedding, they have a mock wedding of their own. Like, it's just for fun. So they mock, and they replicate what the adults do. So children have their own idea of what being an adult is, and they are trying to mimic here mourning or a funeral, wedding or a festival. So all joyous occasion or a sad occasion, like, so whatever children experience, they are going to remember it, and they are trying to replicate it in their own way. They will he fit his tongue to dialogues of business, love, or strife. And children try to talk like adults, right? So you owe me money. Give me a 10 rupee or whatever. You might have heard children talking about like that. Just like an children talking like an adult, and it's all imitation. And so children always do these kind of imitation. So where is he heading? Like, some of you might have already guessed what he's trying to say, but we'll continue. But it will not be long ere this be thrown aside, and with a new joy and pride the little actor cons another part. So such a beautiful line, little actor cons another part. But getting back to the previous lines, so it's not very long, all these actings go away. Like, no longer child try to imitate the activities of an adult. No longer child try to imitate a wedding or a funeral or something. Child, the person there, grows up, after a little bit of time, grows up with new joy and pride. The little actor cons another part, right? So the child, little actor, he's an actor. As a young, it used to act like an adult, and now it is an adult. It is acting. It is acting some other part. So other part, this is an idea that we all carry a persona with us, persona, a mask with us, and we all act. We don't be, we act. So this is the idea, which is presented here, filling from time to time his humorous stage with all the persons down to palsied age that life brings with her in her equipage, and as if his whole vocation were endless imitation. So he's put in equipage. Equipage is a band of actors, right? And among the band of actors, it becomes actor too. That is, it carries out endless imitation. Our life, endless imitation. Our life is in such a way that we act others. Like, we look at somebody, and we try to imitate, right? And we pretend to be somebody else, we pretend to be something else. And that is what he's hinting at. And soon the child becomes that. And so when when child becomes that, of course, everything child had earlier is lost, and that is what this entire poem is about. Anyway, thou, he's calling out to child, thou whose exterior semblance does belie thy soul's immensity. So the thou is you child, whose exterior, whose uh, how the child acts, it feels like it is an impression of the immensity of the soul. It feels like the soul has given its power. Children are very powerful, right? And in the sense, like, they feel energetic. The children are energetic. You don't know where the energy is coming from. So, and so that is what he's calling out the child here. But that is not where it ends. He continues, thou best philosopher who yet does keep. So he calls the child with different names. One of them is best philosopher, thy heritage, thou eye among the blind, thou, you are an eye among the blind. So remember the poem, which three lines of the poem. So the child knows what adults do not know. So you are an among the blind. You are someone who shares the vision. So that deaf and silent reads the eternal deep, haunted forever by the eternal mind, mighty prophet, seer blessed, on whom those truths do rest. So he's talking about that, the children, so they are blessed creatures. They are blessed with some knowledge. You know, they are blessed with some truth. What is that truth, on whom these truths do rest, which we are toiling all our lives to find, in darkness lost, in darkness of grave. So when we adults are filled with these darkness, the children are like, so they are they have that vision of finding divinity around them. Thou over whom thy immortal broods like the day, a master over slave. So here is the first time he is using the term divinity, immortality, and based on its position, based on how it is presented, immortality here means divinity. Immortality doesn't mean not having death or something. Divinity here particularly means, immortality means divinity, and that particular sense of divinity is present, like master over slave. So it is like child is the master. Child is the master. It has sense of immortality, and the adults are like slaves who doesn't have the sense of immortality. A presence which is not be put by, thou little child, yet glorious in the might of heaven born, freedom on thy being height. So, so young children, young children are heaven born, firstly, and they share heaven born freedom, right? So, here is where he resembles the Enlightenment writers. Remember, man is born free, but everywhere he's in chains. So that line you can remember. So of course, it's an Enlightenment writer, Rousseau, who had said it. And yeah, he is voicing similar opinion here. So that is why I say that Romanticism is not against Enlightenment, it's a response to enlightenment. Some things are shared, some things are opposed. Why with such earnest plains dost thou provoke the ears to bring the inevitable yoke? So, why are children so eager to to take these sufferings of an adult? Why children are, waiting to be adults who are filled with sufferings, inevitable yoke, inevitable suffering, thus blindly with thy blindness at strife. So blessedness, sorry, blessedness. Uh, yeah. So why do you want to trade this happy state for an anger? So adults are angry, children are not angry. Children are usually in a happy state, according to the poets. Of course, it's an exaggeration. And he says, why are you trying to take up this anger, trading your blessedness? Full soon thy soul shall have her earthly, freight, burden. Freight is nothing but burden. So soon, you have to carry all this burden with you. And why are you eager to carry all this burden? Custom lie upon thee with a weight heavy as frost and deep almost as life. So, the life drags down people, right? And that is what he is trying to say, weight heavy as frost. So you are supposed to carry this weight, carry this burden when you are an adult. But why are they in a hurry to get it, is the question posed here. Oh joy that in our embers is something that does live, that nature yet remembers what was so fugitive. The thought of our past years in me does breed perpetual benediction, not indeed. For that which is most worthy to be blessed, right? Uh, Delight and liberty, the simple creed of childhood, whether busy or at rest. I'm not going in detail of what is, what is presented here, but it means that, the child is, it carries perpetual benediction. It means that, a child carries this continuous blessing, and the joy which you find in child is unparalleled. And that is what you see here. The child, what childhood can offer is this unmatchable joy. With new fledged hope still fluttering in his breast, not for those I rise, not for those I raise the songs of thanks and praise, but for those obstinate questionings of sense and outward things falling from us vanishing. So the sense of divinity which we have spoken earlier is vanishing. It is taking it is being taken away from us one slowly. And this is something which concerns the speaker. Blank misgivings of a creature moving about in worlds and not realized, high instincts before which our mortal nature did tremble like guilty things surprised. So here, this line is very important. High instincts before which are mortal nature. This line, you can ponder upon it, and this line becomes very important line of the poem. High instincts before our mortal nature. Um, for this, you need to understand a little bit about the way the way we understand human nature. That is, by then, biology was much, explored, by early 1800s. And they understood that there are some fundamental instincts that animals and creatures carry. And us being animals, we also carry some instincts. And the popular belief of the day was civilization, or being civilized is not attending to these instincts, right? So being a man is not being an animal, not being driven by animalistic instincts. So that was the popular idea of the day. But here he says high instincts before our mortal nature. High instincts are above our mortal nature. Mortal nature, human nature. So how do we understand it? So high instincts before which are mortal nature is instincts are not about human instincts. So high instincts is the instincts which are above, that is the instincts which for example the child instinct is the instincts to enjoy the things around it, right? So these are the high instincts which he is referring to. So that is what child does. It puts high instincts before its mortal nature. For those, so that is how, so when he says immortality, when he compares immortality to divinity, this is what he's talking about. Mortality means that we are prone to some animalistic, humanistic natures, and some of our instincts are beyond it. Some of our instincts we are open to, the divinity. So that is what immortality means in this particular poem. So for those first affections, those shadowy recollections. So he is talking about himself, which be they what they may, are yet the fountain light of all our day, and yet a master light of all our seeing. Uphold us, cherish, and have power to make our noisy ears seems movements in the being. So when we are growing up, all the amazing things which we see, the master light is again divine light, the fountain light, all these things, again the sense of divinity which we are able to see, of eternal silence, truth that wake to perish never, right? So these are the things which are taken away from noisy ears, right? So before these noisy ears is adult life, right? We are able to experience the fountain light, master light, whatever, the divinity. And after the noisy ears, after our death, we will get back to that, you know feelings, right? So it's a belief that after you die, you go back to God or whatever. So that is why, before the noisy years you experience the same, after the noisy years you experience the same things. So and after that, eternal silence is death. It perishes never, and it doesn't stop anymore, which neither listlessness nor mad endeavor, nor man nor boy, nor all that nor all that is at enmity with boy can utterly abolish or destroy. Okay, so we'll skip that. Hence, in a season of calm weather, though inland far away, inland, that is again like heaven or somewhere. So from there inland, so shore is considered to be the immortal sea, it comes later. So though inland far be, our souls have sight of that immortal sea. So the divinity, the sight of divinity is within us even when we are far from it. In the sense, as an adult, we might have lost the vision of a child. We might be far from the immortality or divinity which he is talking about, but still it is present deep within us, right? Can in a moment travel there, and in moment we can travel there. Of course, we are not children. Of course, we do not enjoy like children. But, at sometimes, in a moment, we can be transported there. Right. So it's not a pessimistic poem where he says, "Oh, I'm no longer a child. I'll not be able to experience it." No. He says, "Of course, children are able to experience it. I might not be to an extent of a child, but within a moment, I'll be able to reach somewhere there. It might not be completely there, but close." Then sing, you birds, sing a joyous song, and let the young lambs bound as to the tabor's sound. We in thought will join you throng, ye that pipe and ye that play, ye that through your hearts today feel the gladness of the May. So the beauty around him, like he starts enjoying the beauty around him, and it's like after realizing that you don't actually have to be physically you younger to experience the joyous state of a child. So, what through the radiance which was once so bright, be now forever taken from my sight. What was so bright has been taken from my sight. Oh, so what was so, what was driving me as a child is no longer there. True, though nothing can bring back the hour of splendid in the grass, of glory in the flower. We will grieve not, rather find strength in what remains. We will not regret the changes that has happened. We will not regret that our childhood is lost, right? We will you know we will find strength in what remains behind. So whatever is remaining within us, that is enough for us. In the primal sympathy which having been must ever be, in the soothing thoughts that spring out of human suffering, in the faith that looks through death, in ears that bring the philosophic mind. So, uh, in the so uh, sorry, yeah, in the primal sympathy which having been must ever be, in the soothing thoughts that spring out of human suffering, in the faith that looks through death, in ears that bring the philosophic mind. So, uh, you know, though we are not uh, children, we do not need to have do not need to have a physical state of a child, right? The soothing thoughts can come to us despite we are suffering. So adults suffer, children do not suffer, according to this particular I mean, according to a lot of people, including Wordsworth, children do not suffer, adults suffer. Despite this suffering, you know we can have soothing thoughts, we can appreciate the beauty, and which might brings the philosophic mind. And oh, you fountains, meadows, hills, and groves. So these were the things he referred in the beginning of the poem. These were the things which you find in the first stanza as well. Forebode not any severing of our loves. So, um, so he's saying that so you all referring to mountain, meadows, hills, and groves, so hope that you will never be separated from us. Yet in my heart of hearts I feel you might, I only have relinquished one delight. So yet my so so the loss of innocence is, I mean, it is not complete, it is not a complete loss. To live beneath your more habitual sway. I love the brooks which down their channel fret, even more than when I tripped lightly as they. the innocence, brightness of a newborn day. So, though I'm no longer a child, I'm able to find these things beautiful. I'm able to find the true beauty of the nature. So it is not a complete loss. It's lovely yet the clouds that gather round the setting sun do take a sober coloring from an eye. So in the beginning it was a rising sun. Now it is a setting sun because he's reaching his old age. Right? And when sun was rising, he was a child. Now it is setting, is reaching his old age. More he reaches the old age again, it is coming back to him. He's able to appreciate the beauty, still more. That has kept watch over man's mortality. Another race has been, and other palms are won. Thanks to human heart by which we live, thanks to its tenderness, its joys and fears. So finally, we are reaching end of the poem. Thanks to the human heart by which we live. Right? So we live by this, human heart. And thank God we live by this because it is tender. It is able to get influence. It is able to appreciate the things around it. Even when we are adult, it is able to be moved by the things around us. Right. So thank God we are driven by human heart. To me, the meanest flower that blows can give thoughts that do often lie too deep for tears. You know, even when I am filled with sorrows, even when I'm filled with deep tears, even when the things are so deep that it can't be brought down to tears. The sadness, melancholy is when it is not be able to express, right? Even then, a small flower, the meanest flower, a small flower that blows can give thoughts. Like it can balm us. It can console us. It can change us. So this is what he believes. Now, what is the overarching idea of the poem? Let's get back to the title, and there it is. Intimations of immortality from recollection of early childhood. Intimations, right? Approaching, right? Feeling similar. So how does the speaker feel? Speaker intimation of immortality, not reaching immortality, but approaching immortality, going close to the feeling of immortality, going close to the feeling of divinity, right? From recollection of early childhood, right? So trying to be child, trying to remember of being a child, we try to get close to the divinity, right? So it's very Wordsworth title that is, you understand it as Wordsworth because Wordsworth is, he spoke about recollection, right? So in his definition of poetry, he said that poetry is spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility. So this is something similar, right? So uh, you know children have this sense of immortality, children have this sense of divinity, which is not carried by adults, but that doesn't mean it is lost, right? So by intimation of immortality, that is like by recollecting the early childhood, by trying to be children again, we go close to the sense of divinity, sense of immortality. This is what Wordsworth is trying to say in this poem. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.